Well, hello everybody. I hope everyone is ready. Ready for this. All right. So, what I thought is, I'm sorry, I've had a really rough day today, otherwise I would have been on earlier. But what I thought today was we would basically go over the same stuff we were last night, just listen to agenda free TV, see what's going on. He keeps us up on the news, so he gets a little snappy sometimes, but we can deal with that, can't we? All right, so let's get him going and me quiet. I gotta fix my light. Yeah, it would help if I turned him up, wouldn't it? Definitely would help. All right, let me do that for you guys. Oh my goodness. Let's see.
I saw some people in comments of that video saying maybe like the tank thought the person was holding up an anti-tank missile or something. I don't know. I don't know. But it's a crazy video. Again, posted by ScaInt and retweeted by Intel Doge. Here, I found a report I want to show you. Hold on. There was this Zhytomyr thing. Hold on. Here it is. 4 dead in Russian strike on Ukrainian city of Zhytomyr. Advisor to Interior Minister. 4 people were killed when homes in the Ukrainian city of Zhytomyr were hit by a Russian cruise missile apparently aimed at a nearby airbase, said an advisor to the Ukrainian Interior Minister. So far, 4 people have died, including a child. I believe that is this video here. Patrick ReeeeeeeReeeeeWHAT'S, hellish scenes from Zhytomyr after a Russian strike there.
В этом доме есть человек, вот в этом доме. В цьому будинку зараз є. Ну може, зараз знайдемо. Зараз
That was posted by Patrick Reevil. Just terrible. Just terrible. We've had a couple of viewers asked about this. I don't know that much about it. Matthew Paget, thank you, Matthew, and some other viewers asked about this, the map. Belarus's leader was showing a map, I guess, during a live TV appearance, and it appeared that maybe the map had intelligence on it, like what was going to happen. Putin's strongman ally may have accidentally shared a map of Russia's Ukrainian invasion plans. That's from Insider. Belarusian dictator Lukashenko may have accidentally shared Russia's invasion plans on television. A short video shared by a Belarusian journalist showed Lukashenko was pointing to a map of Ukraine that shows it segmented into 4 parts. The Tadeusz Gizkan, who posted it, said it looked like an actual invasion map. Here, I'll show you here it is right here. Tadeusz Gizkan said, at today's Security Council meeting, Lukashenko showed what looks like an actual invasion map. It shows Ukraine military facilities destroyed by missiles from Belarus, attacks, directions, everything agrees so far except Odessa, Transnistria. Also, Ukraine is divided into 4 sectors. So I don't know if anything on this map is like a sign of something to come. I just don't know. I don't know. Maybe an original map had 4 sectors. I don't know. I don't know if this means anything, if this is supposed to mean anything about what's coming. I just don't know. Anyways, that was posted by Tadeusz Gizkan. I retweeted this earlier. You can go check it out. Lukashenko is widely considered to be a puppet of Putin and relies heavily on the Kremlin support to stay in power. Yeah, and then, see, there's this part of it. Belarusian president displays map suggesting Putin plans to attack Moldova. So there's part of the map says that Russia's going to have forces go towards... I didn't even really want to get into this. Part of the map suggests Russia's going to have troops go into Transnistria. Here, look. If you look down here, right at the bottom, Max said and posted this. What you see, part of what you see is this here. This line here. This is Moldova, and the eastern part of Moldova is a separatist region called Transnistria, and Russia has forces already there. So there's an arrow going from the Black Sea to Transnistria. So it looks like maybe Russia's... I think the idea of this would be to cut off the city of Odessa, but maybe Russia would be thinking of annexing Transnistria here. I don't know. So that's what the article says. It says Russia may be planning aggressive moves against Moldova. I don't know. The map shows Ukraine split into its 4 operational command districts. I guess maybe those districts already existed. I don't know. And features red arrows that appear to indicate planned troop movements. One of the arrows originates in the port of Odessa. I don't know about that. How about east of Odessa? And terminates on the other side of the Moldovan border, which would be Transnistria. Transnistria, a narrow land strip with about 400,000 inhabitants, is an internationally recognized part of Moldova, but the Moldovan government has exercised no authority there since 1992. Russian troops have been stationed there ever since. So, Moldova used to be part of the USSR as well. So I'm just going through some of the messages here. As usual, there's a lot of messages trying to keep up. Oh, I hadn't seen this. Lee sent me this. Elint News posted this. Update is expected to take 1 week before Kyiv is surrounded, and another 30 days could elapse before Kyiv is seized. Lawmakers at the capital were told Monday the war is likely to last 10, 15, or 20 years. A U.S. official tells CBS News a tactical seizure of Ukraine is possible within the next 4 to 6 weeks. Let's look at this. Thanks for sending this in. I hadn't seen this yet. CBS News. Where's the article? Where's the article? A U.S. official tells CBS News that a tactical seizure of Ukraine is possible within the next 4 to 6 weeks, based on the assessments of what currently is taking place on the ground. As David Martin has reported, it is expected to take 1 week before Kyiv is surrounded, and another 30 days could elapse before the capital is seized. Think about this. The U.S. official says it is not clear whether Russia would gradually strangle the city or engage in street-to-street fighting. These scenarios were laid out for members of Congress yesterday as the initial battle to destroy the Ukrainian military and government. It is also not clear whether Russia would then decide to go west towards Lviv or as far west as the Polish border. The situation is dynamic, so this remains an estimate on what is militarily possible. This U.S. official also could not say when the sanctions that have been rolled out so far will have a practical impact on the Russian military. The low morale and shortages of food and fuel are not a result of the sanctions now in place. At some point, however, the Russian military will be impacted by these sanctions. Given the durability of the Ukrainian resistance and its long history of pushing Russia back, the U.S. and Western powers do not believe this will be a short war. The UK Foreign Secretary estimated it would be a 10-year war. Lawmakers at the capital were told Monday it was likely to last 10, 15, or 20 years, and ultimately Russia will lose. Levi says they can't afford it. No, I mean, look, as I've said a million times, and I'm with the analysts who say this, even if Putin successfully takes a bunch of Ukraine militarily, he's going to occupy it for years and years and pay to do that, and the Russian populace is going to put up with paying for all of this and having all those sanctions and having constantly having Russians killed in Ukraine. Thanks, by the way, very much to David Bowes. I appreciate that. David Bowes, thank you. Did I thank Stephen Hake, Max Power, Ryan Bliss, and Greg Berhalter's puppy? Thank you. Sir Sticky thinks Russia will be broke in 2 months. Actually, a fair point about 20 years. I mean, Putin is 69 years old as well. If we're starting to talk about 20 years, but they're doing it in Crimea. Crimea is not the same. Crimea is not the same. It's not the same experience. A lot of people, I believe a lot of people who didn't like Russia left Crimea. They fled Crimea. Crimea, you don't have active resistance. Totally different. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to continue this, but I need to take a 2-minute break. We're taking a 2-minute break. That's what we're doing. Then we'll look at the Institute for the Study of War and see what they have to say.
Oh my gosh, here he goes on his brakes again.
And thank you, B Syndicate. I appreciate that, B Syndicate. And thank you, Sonic. Very kind of you. Thank you. All right, guys, I'm going to come back in 2 minutes. We will have more updates starting in a couple minutes.
So how's everyone doing tonight? I'm sorry. It's, here I am. It's a pretty rough night. For me, I'm feeling super sick, but I'm gonna keep this going. Yeah, just kind of slept all day and, wasted the day sleeping ish. But anyways, enough about that. I don't know, I don't really have too much to say today. I'm just kind of streaming and watching this, I guess. And I don't even have a cat for you to put in the screen today. So, just watch these screens. I got the volumes on all the other boxes in case something happens. We'll be able to hear. So. I'm gonna try to eat something and maybe I'll feel better and I'll be more perky. I'm really sorry and I apologize.
Okay, we are back. We are live. I'm going to be eating a Cliff Bar in a second because I need to eat something. So it is 2:21 a.m. Kyiv time. Oh, I had a bit of breaking news to show you too. Oops. I had a little breaking news to show you. I will. I'm going to go to Institute Study of War. Don't worry about it. I will get there. Exxon withdraws. Exxon is the latest oil company to withdraw from Russia. That's from Javier Blas. Exxon withdraws from Russia. We are beginning the process to discontinue operations and developing steps to exit the Sakhalin-1 venture. I apologize for eating, but I got to eat something. ExxonMobil to discontinue operations at Sakhalin-1, make no new investments in Russia. Look. ExxonMobil supports the people of Ukraine as they seek to defend their freedom and determine their own future as a nation. We deplore Russia's military action that violates the territorial integrity of the Ukrainian nation and people. Look. I'm going to post this. I'm going to post the original post because the language is striking. What do they say? Oops. ExxonMobil supports the free people of Ukraine as they seek to defend their freedom. We deplore Russia's military action that violates the territorial integrity of Ukraine and endangers people. Given the current situation, ExxonMobil will not invest in new developments in Russia. There it is. So it's a pretty strong statement. I mean, they're clearly they're not ambiguous about why they're doing this. Right? So, I mean, the statement they put out, it's not like, well, we're doing it, but they don't really explain why. I mean, they're not beating around the bush. They literally say that they supported the people of Ukraine as they seek to defend their freedom, and they deplore Russia's military action. which is interesting. Hang on. I'm going to start hiding people. I'm almost done with my Cliff Bar. One more bite. 2 more bites. Other oil companies, I know Shell has already pulled out. BP has pulled out of Russia. Okay. One more bite, that's it. All done for now. Yeah, we'll be showing the State of the Union at 9 o'clock. We'll be showing the State of the Union. We will be showing them. All right. Kevin Rothrock posted this. The Council of Deputies for Moscow's Gagarinsky Municipal District issues statement condemning war in Ukraine and calling for immediate troop withdrawal. Not an influential government body, but still noteworthy. That's from Kevin Rothrock. So let's go to here. Let's translate this. BBC News. It's a catastrophe. Moscow deputies urged Putin to stop the war. The Council of Deputies of the Gagarinsky Municipal District in Moscow condemned military operations on the territory of Ukraine and called on Vladimir Putin to immediately withdraw the troops from there. In a letter to the Russian president, the deputies called the invasion of Ukraine a disaster. This is the path to the degradation and impoverishment of the country. No other actions could cause more damage to the Russian economy, the appeal says. So, as Kevin Rothrock says, this is, I guess these are some local officials. These are not an influential government body. But the fact that in Russia, where you're not allowed to protest, that people are willing to sign their name to a public letter criticizing Putin with this kind of language, I think says something. Because that's a big deal. That you're willing to put that out there and just be very direct, calling it a disaster and saying it'll wreck the Russian economy. So, by the way, thank you to Stuart Bell for your support, McKinley, Reichel Music, J Smack, Don Teller, David Roberts, and our new members, Warm Snow and J Smack. Thanks to all of our YouTube members. I really appreciate them. Chad Alcarez, Paula Faust, Gotti Beats, Crypto Rufio, Galaxy Rain, War, and others. I think that's striking to see them specifically mention the economy. Mike Balsamo says, AP sources Biden will announce in the State of the Union address that U.S. is closing airspace to Russian planes over Ukraine invasion. Okay. Hang on one second here. Is the Russian stock market open tomorrow? Oh, by the way, I don't know if this is true. New Zelensky assassination plot forward. I wouldn't be surprised if people are. There have been reports that Russia wants to kill him. Axios says Ukrainian National Security and Defense Council Chief Alexei Danilov said that Ukrainian forces had foiled an assassination plot attempt against Zelensky. I don't know if that's true. I would not be surprised if people are trying to kill him. People tied to Russia. They claim that Ukrainian authorities had been tipped off about the plot by members of Russia's Federal Security Service who do not support the war, he claimed. In a message, Danilov claimed a group of elite Chechen special forces known as Kadyrovites had been behind the plot and had subsequently been eliminated. I can't confirm this myself. I don't know. I do not know. Thanks, by the way, Marky the Sparky, and very much from New Zealand, and Julius, our new member, and One Chill Hill. Yeah, One Chill Hill, the desertion reports, I see odd reports here and there. I don't know if Russian soldiers are deserting. If they are, I don't know how prevalent it is. I just don't know. Thanks, Drew Saunders. Drew Saunders mentioned Asia. I mean, real quick, I saw this a couple days ago. Japan joined sanctions on Russia Central Bank, says Japan is with Ukraine. I know South Korea joined sanctions too. The Prime Minister of Japan says, I told President Zelensky Japan is with Ukraine and offered him firm support for Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Thank you, Drew Saunders. All right, guys, I got to get to the Institute for the Study of War thing. I got to get to the Institute for the Study of War. I've been trying to get to it for like an hour. Let me get to that. I'm just checking for updates too. But I want to get to Institute for the Study of War. Hang on a second here. The account Euromaidan PR is claiming that in the Sumy region in northeastern Ukraine, in Trostyanets, Russian occupiers have entered the city with heavy weaponry. They tried to hide inside the city among civilian infrastructure from Russian drones, from Ukrainian drones. Officials ask more heavy arms as local defenders resist with small arms only. So maybe crashes taking place in Trostyanets in Sumy region, possibly. I can't confirm that report from Euromaidan PR. I just saw that. All right, here's the Institute of Study of War. I'm going to show you this report. They say Russian forces are completing the reinforcement and resupply of their troops north and west of Kyiv and launching an envelopment of the Ukrainian capital, likely aimed at encircling and ultimately capturing it. So let's see what their update says. I like reading their updates. I think they are smart. Hey, Sean TV, thanks so much, Sean TV. That's very kind of you. I really appreciate all your support, Sean TV. Thank you. Thank you, Sean. Okay. The latest Institute for the Study of War report says Russian forces are completing the reinforcement and resupply of their troops north and west of Kyiv and launching an envelopment of the capital, likely aimed at encircling and ultimately capturing it. This effort will likely accelerate in the next 24, 48 hours. Now, just to be clear, 2 days ago they said it was going to be the next day. 2 days ago they said 24 hours, and then yesterday they said 24 hours. So I think they're really smart over there, but just to be clear, 2 days ago they said it was going to be the next day, and then yesterday they said it was going to be the next day. So I do think one thing they might not be counting on that they maybe they should be counting on or factoring in is the possibility that that there's some reason that it's not. Maybe there's some bigger problem, like a logistical problem that's keeping them from moving the convoy. I don't know, but. Anyways, Russian operations against Kyiv are Moscow's main effort. Russian troops are also undertaking 3 supporting efforts: one to seize Kharkiv, one to take Mariupol, and to secure the land bridge connecting Rostov-on-Don in Russia to Crimea, and one to secure Kherson and set conditions for a drive west towards Mykolaiv and Odessa. So they say in addition to Kyiv, Russia's focusing on taking Kharkiv, Mariupol, and Kherson. The 3 supporting operations are active, with the operation against Mariupol making the most progress in the last 24 hours. The Russian attack on Kyiv will consist of, they believe, a main effort aimed at enveloping and ultimately encircling the city from the west and cutting off supplies, and a supporting effort along the axes from Chernihiv in the north and Sumy to the northeast to circle Kyiv from the east. The long Russian column of combat and logistics vehicles north of Kyiv is likely setting conditions for the envelopment to the west, although it could also support attacks directly into the city from the positions Russian forces maintain in Kyiv's northwestern outskirts. Russian forces are more likely to pursue the envelopment encirclement than a direct assault on the city. That's what they think. By the way, if this happens, this is something that Western intelligence has been saying for like a month, that they thought this was going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope the soldiers just leave. This is just awful for the people of Ukraine. Please keep the people of Ukraine in your thoughts. It's just every day now we have new attacks and people dying and hundreds of thousands of refugees, people getting injured, people can't live in their homes anymore, places without electricity, people basically terrorized. It's just awful, and it's only getting worse. So please keep them in your thoughts. It's horrible, and it's only getting maybe a lot worse. A lot worse. They also say the Russian military has continued to using area attack weapons in the city of Kharkiv, just shooting stuff at civilian areas, dramatically increasing the damage to civilian infrastructure and civilian casualties. Russian forces have not reportedly attempted large-scale ground operations against Kharkiv in the last 24 hours, but are likely instead using air, missile, and artillery bombardment to set conditions for a renewed ground attack sometime in the next 48 hours. Will they make a big ground attack? I don't know. Russian ground forces appear likely to conduct another frontal assault on Kharkiv from the northeast rather than attempt to envelop or encircle the city. Just to be clear, the first Russian, quote, assault on Kharkiv was very, very, very small. It looked to be like several dozen soldiers and like a dozen or 2 dozen vehicles. It was small. It seemed to make no sense. I think it was Thomas Thiener. I got to read you that article too. I think it was Thomas Thiener. He's an analyst. He thought that in Kharkiv, that the reason they had this small attack a couple days ago, which seemed just crazy, is that they thought that like once they went in there, the people would just welcome them, because otherwise it made no sense. Kharkiv is 1.5 million people. So, just to be clear, there's been no major assault on Kharkiv at all. Ground assault that I'm aware of. Russian forces in the south appear to be holding their positions south of Zaporizhia, fighting to reduce Ukrainian positions in Kherson and seize that city, and encircling Mariupol to set conditions to seize it. Russian operations in the south do not appear to pose an imminent danger to Odessa, a southwestern port city, within the next 24 hours. A Russian drive north through or near Zaporizhia to cut off Ukrainian forces fighting along the line of contact in eastern Ukraine also appears very unlikely in the next 24 to 72 hours. Russian troops claim to have encircled the city of Mariupol and have reportedly entered the city of Kherson to the south. Russian forces are receiving needed supplies and reinforcements that may facilitate much more rapid and effective operations in the coming 24 to 72 hours. The Russian effort around, maybe, unless there's issues with supply, I don't know. Russian effort around Kyiv remains poorly organized, however, with elements of many different battalions combined into what seem to be ad hoc groupings rather than operating under standard regiment or brigade headquarters. The initial errors in Russian force composition and organization in Belarus and Western Russia that Institute for Study of War has reported on, which contributed to Russian logistical and operational failures around Kyiv, will be difficult to remedy quickly and will likely to continue to cause friction and reduce the effectiveness of Russian operations even as supply issues are addressed and reinforcements come into the fight. It remains too early to evaluate the likely effective combat power that the added Russian troops will bring. Key takeaways from Institute for the Study of War. Yeah, we will be playing this, guys. The State of the Union is not for another hour and 18 minutes. The State of the Union is at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It is only 7:42 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be showing you the State of the Union. Okay. Key takeaways, Institute for the Study of War. Russian forces are setting conditions to envelop Kyiv from the west and attempting to open up a new axis of attack from the east that would let them encircle the capital. It is unclear if Russia has sufficient combat power to complete such an encirclement and hold it against Ukrainian counterattacks. This is interesting from Institute for the Study of War. It is unclear if Russia has sufficient combat power to complete an encirclement of Kyiv and hold it against Ukrainian counterattacks. Russian forces will likely launch a renewed ground offensive to seize Kharkiv, following the artillery missile attack it's been conducting in the past 24 hours. I'm interested in seeing that. I know Russia has been launching artillery and hitting civilian areas. I don't know that Russia has severely degraded the Kharkiv defenses. We'll have to see. Russian proxy forces will likely solidify the land bridge linking. They're talking about this. Rostov, Russia is here. They're talking about Russia solidifying this whole land bridge which connects Rostov and Russia to Crimea, occupied Crimea down here. They say Russian proxy forces will likely solidify the land bridge linking Rostov-on-Don with Crimea, allowing Russian forces to move more rapidly from Rostov to reinforce efforts further west. Russia's successful seizing of Kherson, which is down here. There's Kherson. Russia's successful seizure of Kherson city may allow Russian forces to resume their uninterrupted drive towards Mykolaiv and Odessa over here on the southern coast. Belarusian forces have likely entered the war on Russia's side despite denials by the Belarusian president. How about that? Okay. Look at this. Reports that the convoy's length grew from 17 to 40 miles are likely inaccurate. A spokesperson from Maxar Technologies has clarified that Maxar obtained new imagery that's showing more of the convoy, not the convoy getting longer. What? Maxar said, I saw the statement they gave to B&O yesterday saying it was 40 miles long. I'm confused about that. I don't know what's going on with that. Because I did see Maxar's statement that was posted by B&O yesterday. And they were pretty clear about saying it's 40 miles long. That's weird. I'm not going to read this whole thing here. Oh, look at this. Additional combat elements are in defensive positions oriented toward the Antonov Airport, according to imagery provided by Maxar Technologies, likely screening the convoy against possible Ukrainian attacks from near the airfield, control of which is contested. We are unable to assess the overall combat power in this convoy at publication time. Oh, I see. I see. One of our viewers clarified this. Yeah, John Smith, I think, said this. Right. Or Sam Mora. Some of our viewers are saying what they're saying here, what they're saying is they think the convoy was always 40 miles long, not that it grew. When they see, this is ambiguous. That sentence is ambiguous. They could either mean, well, it actually hasn't grown, or it hasn't grown bigger. They could either mean it hasn't grown beyond 17, or they could mean it started at 40, so it didn't grow to 40. So I was originally reading that as, oh, it started at 17 and it hasn't grown. But what I think they do mean, which is what our viewers say, is they're saying it was always 40 and it hasn't grown to 40. Okay. That makes more sense. It's just that the sentence is ambiguous as written in terms of what the meaning is supposed to be. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Okay. Kharkiv. Russian forces remain unable to seize Kharkiv and have apparently concentrated on air, missile, and artillery bombardment, likely intended in part to enable a subsequent renewed ground offensive. Mariupol. Russian forces claim to have completed the encirclement of Mariupol by land and sea. We assess with low confidence that Russian forces have completed the encirclement of Mariupol and will seek to compel the defenders to surrender or attack to seize it within the coming 24 hours. Kherson. Russian forces have likely secured control of Kherson City and are consolidating there before continuing their advance to the west. Immediate items to watch. Russian forces maneuvering to the west and southwest of Kyiv to envelop, then encircle it. Russian forces securing the crossings over the Desna near Chernihiv and or linking up with forces advancing from the Sumy axis to open a new front against Kyiv from the east. Belarusian ground forces beginning active participation in the Russian defensive campaign. Russian ground forces launching an offensive against Kharkiv following the air missile artillery attacks. Russian forces around Kherson resuming their advance towards Mykolaiv and Odessa. Russian and proxy forces commencing an offensive to take Mariupol. So if you want to get this, it's a very good, you can get it every day. It's on their website, Institute for the Study of War. But you can actually sign up for emails. So I get an email every time they come out with one of these. Also, you can follow their Twitter, too. But they're really good daily updates. So, but as I said yesterday, I think one possibility that's not being, that I'm not seeing that much, I think should be made more of, is the possibility that that there's something fundamentally wrong with the Russian military. Because the general tone of the analysis has been okay, they've made a bunch of mistakes, things haven't been going well so far, but basically they're taking a few days, they're gonna fix everything up. And then they're gonna start doing because they haven't used a lot of their forces, a lot of their air force, a lot of their helicopters. Their ground operations have tended to be very small. Their ground attacks tend to be very small. And I keep hearing they're gonna launch bigger attacks. And I just wonder, is there something keeping them from some underlying, is it not just a choice for them that they're not doing bigger attacks and they're not utilizing their air force and their helicopters, and also that the convoy is kind of stalled out for a couple days? Is it not choice, or could there be something bigger that's wrong? So I don't know. I'd be interested in hearing some discussion of that. And as I pointed out, I think these guys are great, but 2 days ago they said, well, we expect the new offensive, I think, on Kyiv, I think they said to start in like 24 hours. Then the next day they said, well, we expect the new offensive on Kyiv to start in 24 hours. And now they're saying, we expect the new offensive on Kyiv to start in will accelerate in 24 to 48 hours. So it keeps getting pushed back. I mean, great. I'm happy it doesn't happen, but I just wonder if maybe there's more fundamental problems going on. Like maybe the supply problems aren't getting fixed. Maybe morale problems? I don't know. Is equipment breaking down? I have no idea. Debunk says, I think military is refusing orders. There's an unconfirmed story floating around that Russia ordered some kind of amphibious assault and like some of the soldiers didn't want to do it, so it didn't happen. I mean, I don't know. It could be true. No idea. Totally unconfirmed. Okay. Someone said it could be generals holding back. Intel Crab just posted this. Look at this. Intel Crab posted this. Somebody named Mike, who Intel Crab follows, just talked to a friend with contacts in Ukraine who are experienced observers of war. The situation, particularly in Kyiv, is worse than it seems on social media. The Russian vice is closing. The West is congratulating itself for standing up to Putin, but he's winning. Well, I mean, there's... So I certainly it's horrible for people there. I agree with that. But as to Putin winning, I don't see the long game victory. Oh, I saw a thread about this, though, I wanted to show you. I saw a thread I wanted to show you. Finneval says, my guess is that Russian generals are holding this. They don't want to do what Putin says. It's an interesting question whether there's some resistance in the military and they're slow walking things. I mean, certainly there's been a lot of fighting, but what can I tell you? I don't know. I'm sure if we knew everything that was going on, there would be a lot that's surprising. Here's something about Exxon, Wall Street Journal. Exxon to shut down oil production in Russia. Texas energy giant follows similar moves by BP and Shell. Political pressure on big energy companies to cease or pull out of Russian operations mounted quickly after President Putin's invasion of Ukraine last week. What is less clear about is how the companies will go about unloading the holdings and partnerships during wartime. With buyers of Russian assets scarce and many wealthy Russian individuals and entities themselves cut off by sanctions and banking controls. Okay. I need to show you this other thread that I saw. But before I do that, let me just check for updates here. Give me one moment. I have too many things open. Look at this. Look at this. This is from Union. Oh, Union has two updates here. Union is a Ukraine news site. They say Russian troops landed in Kharkiv. The invaders attacked the hospital, military medical clinical center of the northern region. A battle began between the invaders and the Ukrainian defenders. No idea if that's true. I'll see if I can find out anything else about it. Also, there's this report that says evacuation trains from Kyiv to from the capital to the western part of the country have been running for the second day, but with long intervals, and there are not enough seats for everyone. Because at the stations there's a crush, a mess, and assault on the cars. Look at this scene from one of the, I guess from Kyiv. Just awful. There's a couple reports about Russian troops that a battle going on in Kharkiv right now. I can't confirm that. Okay. Checking some updates here. Oh, MP Goncharenko reports. Nexta says the same thing. I bet Nexta's going to post this. Nexta on Telegram has the same report, saying a member of parliament is claiming that Russian troops have landed in Kharkiv. A battle has begun between the invaders and the Ukrainian defenders. MP Goncharenko reports. Alexei Goncharenko, he's a Ukrainian member of parliament. Nexta and Union are both reporting on their telegrams Ukrainian parliament member Goncharenko. Maybe I can just find that where he's saying this, Goncharenko. Maybe I can find his social media. This is taking too long. It's taking too long. Alexei Goncharenko on Facebook. I got his Facebook page. It's not there. Nexta and Union are both reporting on their Telegram channels that Ukrainian parliament member Goncharenko I'll get it posted. I think it's important to post it. Almost done. Goncharenko. Okay, I posted it. Whatever. This Biden speech is at 9 o'clock. It's in like an hour. Hey, thanks to Richard Marshall for your support. Think before you type. Mary Hodge and Brainy Janey, Tyler Lawrence and Schaff. Thomas. Dimi Dumangji. Camping Mom Life. Sup 3, it's hard for me to, Sup 3 Rilu to Luigi or something. It's very small writing with those letters. I can't see exactly what it is. Thank you. And where is, I wanted to show you. I don't know, one of our viewers asked about this. Think before you type asked about this. A number of viewers have asked about this. I don't really have information about it. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple stories. I don't really know much about it. You can see Africans say Ukrainian authorities hindered them from fleeing. I don't know really what to make of this. I've seen a couple stories. I watched a TV story about it. I'm not really in a position to intelligently comment on it. So if you want to read about it, that's a New York Times story. You can see that right there. You can read, Africans report racism and hostility when trying to flee Ukraine. I don't know. So what can I say? I don't know enough about it. I will say this, certainly something that should be looked into if they say that, but also a story that if somebody wanted to spread negative stories about Ukraine, which I've certainly seen. I've certainly seen people out there who are always trying to spread negative stories about Ukraine. So they might put out there. So what I'll say is this. If this is happening, it's not good. At the same time, in no way would this make me change my mind that this war is completely evil, it's morally reprehensible, and it's all Putin's fault. So in no way would that change it. So I'm not going to try to get to the bottom of that here, but there's plenty of articles out there if you'd like to read about it. Okay. Let me show you what I wanted to show you. Dmitry Alperovich, he's had some interesting threads. He is a American citizen, was born in Russia, is a cybersecurity expert. He's been posting and giving interviews about the situation. So I want to show you this. He said, now that I just saw the first, I wanted to read this. I haven't even read it all myself yet. Now that the Russians have switched tactics from pursuing a rapid victory on the cheap, failed miserably, and reverted to the mean of leveling Ukrainian cities to the ground like they did with Grozny and Aleppo, the goals of the operation are likely changing as well. If at the start Putin was trying to go for a quick decapitation of Ukrainian leadership and installation of a pro-Russian leader, e.g. Medvedchuk, this seems completely unrealistic now, if it ever were, since he has pretty much turned the entire population against Russia. True. I don't see how he installs a government unless he has a huge police force there to just constantly terrorize the people. But I'd also argue that, yeah, that was never going to happen anyway. Right. He also does now Dmitry Alperovich thinks that Putin does not have the time to engage in a brutal occupation, given the internal pressures that are already starting to materialize inside Russia. Look, we've talked about this. The idea that he's going to put hundreds of thousands of Russian security forces in a permanent occupation of Ukraine and spend all that money and have all those casualties from an ongoing resistance, it just doesn't make any sense. He says a number of Russian oligarchs, actors, TV personalities, etc. are coming out against this war on a scale we really haven't seen since the first Chechen war in the 90s. The unpopularity of this war inside Russia, not to mention the universal international outrage, is going to multiply dramatically with each coming day, along with casualties. I totally agree. Just in the last few days, there's been these horrendous bombings of civilian targets, awful photos coming out. It's could you imagine if they ever try starving out Kyiv, what that's going to look like? Yes. The videos and the photos are just going to get worse and worse and worse. Thus, Putin is going to need a resolution to the war in the next few weeks, or it will create serious problems for him domestically. Putin can't pull back now without losing face, though, having talked about Ukraine with its mystical nuclear weapons as an existential threat to Russia. Now that he's already incurred the severe economic sanctions, costs, and diplomatic isolation, he has to show something for it. Putin's only hope now is to rapidly unleash utter brutality on the Ukrainian people, which he has already started on by shooting MLRS rockets into Kharkiv and other cities, in order to get major concessions from Zelensky in the negotiations. Putin's minimum bar for a negotiated solution now would be likely to be Ukraine conceding Crimea to Russia, which Russia took from them in 2014, agreement to never join NATO and EU in some form of demilitarization, e.g. no NATO infrastructure in Ukraine. His problem is it's highly unlikely that Zelensky and the rest of the Ukrainian leadership would accept these conditions, so the war and the insurgency that will follow it can drag out for a long time. And the longer it goes on, the more precarious Putin's position will become domestically. A palace coup is going to become increasingly likely over time. Of course, tragically, it will also mean tens of thousands of dead civilians and unimaginable destruction in Ukraine. Yeah, I think, generally speaking, I think that's some solid reasoning there. He's not saying he knows what's going to happen, but I think it's a well-reasoned argument. I think it's a well-reasoned argument. I'm going to retweet that about this. The longer it goes on. So now I did see this. I saw an interesting response to this. So Alexander Vindman posted a response to this. He had an interesting idea, Alexander Vindman. Look what Alexander Vindman said. He said, Good threat, a likely alternative. Putin completely wrecks Ukraine and goes back home claiming to have demilitarized and denazified Ukraine. He may not keep the territorial gains on the belief that the West rolls back sanctions. Done. The one thing I'll say about that, though, is if Putin does this and then goes home, all the sanctions are still going to stay there. I don't. If he depending on what he does, actually, if he really destroys the country and then goes home, I don't know that. I mean, who knows? You know, it just maybe if he destroys the country, but then like completely pulls his troops out, some of the sanctions could be less. You know, is Putin going to give up territory that his army has somewhat taken over in this conflict? Well, I'm guessing Ukraine and the NATO countries would insist on it. Anyways, these are some interesting thoughts. I mean, but I generally agree with Dmitry Alperovitch that the situation is going to become worse and worse at home for Putin. Some ridiculous things. Hold on. I'm going to start timing out and then hiding. The new thing people are saying, the new stupid, annoying thing people are saying as a comment. Mods, I have a new restriction. The new stupid, annoying, garbage diarrhea people are putting in the chat is no matter what is talked about, they just say propaganda or propaganda, Steve. It's meaningless because they just say it about anything. It's just a complaint and they don't know what they're saying. That makes no sense that that's propaganda. I just showed you two thoughtful people giving their opinions, well-reasoned about what was going to happen, and then some moron says propaganda, Steve. That's just somebody who wants to be disruptive. They have no idea what they're talking about. There's actually no point to what they're saying. They might as well just be saying, I'm writing this to be disruptive. And I keep noticing it. So mods, start timing out people and then hiding them. All right? We can add it to the Nightbot or whatever. It's just no one wants to listen to this annoying garbage. It's just so stupid and annoying. So we'll hide you. If you want to be hidden from the chat, go ahead, write propaganda, we'll start hiding people. But no more. Enough of this nonsense. It's the latest stupid thing people are doing in the chat. So dumb. Propaganda. Person gives a well-reasoned argument of what they think is going to happen. How's that? You know, it doesn't even make sense to say propaganda. But I keep seeing it. I keep seeing it in the chat. So enough already. Enough already. So stupid. Unbelievable. Let me thank our moderators. Thank you to Linda Belk, who's been moderating. Thank you, Linda Belk. Thank you also to Sarah Danny James. Cynthia Moon. Lamar Watkins. You know, the mods are all volunteers. Give it up for them. Lexa Fulmer. Roxanne Betke, K. Lowry Body. Our viewer, Billy Joe Drage, by the way, says Putin is making it worse for himself, hoping he pulls up now. Bud Green is moderating. Thank you, Bud. Also, our Twitch mods. We have A Moment of Lovely, Bastion Girl, Ducksoar, Idaho Star, Mark and NC, Papa Bear, Schultheis, all over there on Twitch. Thank you. Okay. The State of the Union, which we will cover, is in 44 minutes. I think what's going to happen is... Oh, hold on a second, guys. Hold on. Oh, sorry. Just to show you this. Rob Lee says a Russian short-range air defense system was destroyed. See, we heard the Ukrainian official apparently said there was a huge column destroyed by Ukraine today, and recently. I don't know if that's true, but this was the location. It was Bashtanka, I believe. So, well, this is something on fire, this. And then Rob Lee says photos of that destroyed Panzer S system and other destroyed or abandoned vehicles from that column. So these are just, look at this. It's destroyed and abandoned. This is, look at how big that is. Look at how big this is. Wow. I heard these were supply trucks. Anyways. It's a short-range air defense system destroyed, a Russian system destroyed. Rob Lee posted that. Oh, someone said it was abandoned by the Russian army a couple days ago and it was set on fire by Ukrainian civilians. I don't know if that's the case. I have no idea. Possible. I just don't know. I think I thanked all the mods. I think. Oh, the State of the Union. The State of the Union is in 42 minutes. I think what I'm going to do is we're going to play the State of the Union, and I'm going to use that time to eat something because I haven't eaten. I haven't eaten. Yes, Keith, I did mention the Zitomir incident. We talked about that earlier. Thank you, Keith. And thank you, Jean Ann and Gerald DeCampo. And Imperialist. And Ludici. And Rita and Think and Anders, but Anders broke the rules. So that's what I'm going to do is when the State of the Union starts, we will go to that and I'll eat something. All right, hang on one moment. Hang on one moment. Excuse me. Somebody just asked me to unblock somebody. If you guys have like stuff about with mod stuff, the chat stuff is the mods. The mods oversee the chats. So if you have a chat related question, that should go to the mods. The mods can post. There's an email or a contact address or link for the different platforms. So whichever platform you're watching on, you can ask the mods and they can tell you the contact information for the mods. But they're the ones who deal with all that stuff. They're the ones who know best about that. I'm trying to check some of your messages too. We're kind of behind on this. Our viewer, I don't know much about this. Our viewer, Spokenitz sent this to me. I don't really know much about it. Moscow threatens to block Russian language Wikipedia over invasion article. Russian authorities have threatened to block Wikipedia's Russian language site over an article that mentions deaths among Ukrainian civilians as well as Russian forces that have entered Ukraine, Russian Wikipedia said Tuesday. Okay? Russia has still not published any precise casualty figures for its own military, but says its losses have been far lower than those of Ukrainian forces, which I'm guessing, well, Ukrainian forces don't say that, but who knows about what happened. I mean, as a country with a huge history of lying about everything and a government that lies about everything, I'm more confident in the Ukrainian numbers. While they might be, my thought is while the Ukrainian numbers might not be totally accurate, maybe they're, I don't know, I can't tell. They might, I've seen some estimates that say they're too high, but I'm more confident in those than I am than the Russian numbers. They still haven't announced any numbers. Also, in case you missed it, Russia closed 2 of its last independent media outlets today. In case you missed that. Julia Yaffe, Office of the Russian Prosecutor General, has blocked the sites of TV Rain and Echo of Moscow, 2 of the last independent Russian broadcasters for, quote, false reporting on the war. Then we also have this. We also have this from Paulina Ivanova, who's with Financial Times. She specializes in Russia reporting. Max Seddon says the radio station Echo Moskvy has been turned off the airways already. She says Russia is heading towards a total blackout of all and any independent media outlets. This is beyond anything I could have imagined even days ago. The war censorship crackdown begins, says Max Seddon. Russian prosecutors want to ban independent channel TV Rain and liberal radio station Echo Moskru, owned by Gazprom, for, quote, calls to extremism and publishing false data about Russian soldiers during the war in Ukraine. They have now shut down the radio station. Echo is still broadcasting on YouTube and going out in classic fashion. Okay. Russia is threatening to ban Wikipedia for an article called Russian Invasion of Ukraine because of illegally disseminated information about Russian military and Ukrainian civilian casualties, as well as bank runs. Okay, and then also there's this as well, in case you missed it. Kevin Rothrock, he says, wow, Russia moves to criminalize unofficial information about the invasion of Ukraine. On March 4th, the State Duma will meet for a special session to discuss legislation that would make it a felony to disseminate disinformation, which I'm guessing is anything the government doesn't like, about Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So there you go. No, it's not just like America. You're being a troll. No, it's not. That's really stupid. That's not true. You know that, but you're a troll bot, so no. Now, I was checking some of your messages. Sorry. Yeah, Shape sent me a report that Russian troops refused to take part in an invasion. Again, I've said it before. I don't know if any of these reports are true. They might be false. They might be true. There's no way of knowing right now. I can't tell you that. I just don't know. You know, what you need to prove it is like a video. Like if you had a video where like a bunch of Russian soldiers, who you could prove were Russian soldiers, were on video saying like, hey, we are not taking part in this operation, we've gone to the other side. Like, I guess that would be proof. Otherwise, who knows? Who knows? Jesse says, do you think Putin will attack? Jesse Lloyd says, do you think Putin will attack Kyiv during the State of the Union? The ground troops aren't close enough. The ground troops are still like 15 miles away. He might launch some rockets at Kyiv or something, but I mean, that's been done before. But again, there's no, as far as what we've been told, that convoy is not right next to Kyiv. And it hasn't been moving very much. Our viewer Kyla Buffett says, which live stream are you watching? I've been watching the one from live stream events on YouTube. They have 4 shots, and then one of the shots is of Kyiv, and it has sound on it. So I've been watching the live stream from live stream events. Dan Campbell thinks, our viewer thinks, Putin will use nuclear weapons. I hope not. What is this? I hadn't seen this yet. PW360 sent me this. Naveed Jamali from Newsweek. Russian missteps open door for Biden to wage secret drone war in Ukraine. Huh. What's this about? Russia's inability or unwillingness to close the skies over Ukraine has presented a potential opportunity for the United States to conduct a secret drone campaign. Secret? They're going to keep it secret from Russia? Current and former U.S. military officials familiar with the drones program tells Newsweek. With chaos on the ground in Ukraine, these sources said it would be possible to obscure who was flying the unmanned aerial combat systems and at the same time avoid belying Biden's public promises not to send U.S. troops to take on Russian soldiers. Really? Like the U.S. could do drone strikes and like the world wouldn't know that it was the U.S. doing it? That the U.S. would deny it? Like if all of a sudden there were a lot more drone strikes, wouldn't Putin say, I think the U.S. is doing it? All right, anyways. The Russians don't have the time to conduct forensics, the former senior U.S. intelligence officer said, and the U.S. could claim the drones were donated to Ukraine. It's an interesting thought. You can't identify the pilots of drones when they are downed, said a former senior U.S. intelligence official, and it's very hard to identify them while in flight. I have wondered if other countries would give drones, more drones. I don't know if they can get them there. The drones have been useful for Ukraine so far. So I guess the idea is that U.S. would fly them, but they would claim. If the idea is just that another country would fly the drones and that nobody knows that, it's an interesting idea. But in terms of bringing more drones in, it's an interesting thing, you know. It's an interesting idea. Who knows? Maybe it happened. Time is becoming a factor if the U.S. seeks to pursue covert actions against Russia. The Russians have not been able to dominate the airspace, but of course we would expect them to try to target those defensive capabilities for the Ukrainians, a senior Pentagon official added, and I suspect we'll continue to see those elements being targeted. With Ukraine's airspace still contested, a senior U.S. military aviator told Newsweek, you could never prove U.S. personnel were operating these drones. You could always say Ukrainians were operating them outside of Ukraine. Even if the Russians recovered a drone, it would be next to impossible for them to determine where who was flying it. Such an operation seems in line with CIA's historical precedent. It's an interesting idea. Still, the idea that Washington or Moscow would ever target one another's forces appears untenable given the high stakes associated with such a confrontation. The problem is if Putin thinks that the U.S. is doing it, that's very risky, right? If suddenly the drone attacks increased and Putin thought the U.S. was causing it, that could be very risky. All right. It's an interesting idea. It's an interesting article. You can read it all here at Newsweek. Nunya thinks it would be pretty obvious. Right, Bob says, who's to say we're not already doing it? Could be the case. Could be the case, as I said, that other countries could be flying them now. But again, my point is, if all of a sudden there were way more drone strikes, it would seem to me that Putin might be like, And at that point, you're risking the same response you might get if the U.S. overtly attacked Russian forces. That's my problem. But maybe some of it's going on already. Russ thinks they would not take that risk, I'd imagine. Thank you to our new member, Marina, and all of our YouTube members. Thank you, Louis R. and Drew Saunders. I'll be checking my messages, Drew. Green O Farms. Thank you for watching Green O Farms. Sigmund Freud. I don't think people are talking about possibly Putin attacking something during the State of the Union. I don't know if that's really such a big deal that he factors in. I mean, the State of the Union. I don't know. I'd be surprised if that was a big thing in his thinking. Eric Teller, thanks for your support. Rosemary Hill. Aaron Woodward. Thank you, Aaron. Okay. The State of the Union is coming up in about 25 minutes. Let me just kind of get oriented here. So when that comes on, I'm going to show it, and then I'm going to eat something. I got to eat something, but I'm waiting till the State of the Union to eat something. And again, I'm sure he's going to talk a bunch about what's going on in Ukraine. "25 minutes. Let me also just hang on. I gotta get everything open up here. All right. We will have this for you in 24 minutes. No, I'm not going to eat now. Why would I eat now? I'll eat during the speech. Doesn't that make more sense? People keep sending me things that I've posted about. people don't read my feed, and then they send me stuff, and I've already posted about it. I literally have gotten like 5 different messages in the last few minutes saying like, look at this story, and I literally have already posted about it on my Twitter and talked about it on the air. Again, I get unblock requests. That kind of thing should be asked to the mods. I can't do that. You got to ask the mods. The mods will post links saying if you want to talk to the mods, here's a link. You got to message them, not me. Yeah, I'm literally getting like every 3rd message is a story we've already talked about. Our viewer Roxai messaged me about this supposed giant column Ukraine had destroyed. Again, that the article you sent, it doesn't really, it's just kind of the same story, and we don't know if it's true. So I'm waiting to see if there's any evidence. You know, I'm guessing if Ukraine destroyed some huge column, maybe there'll be some kind of video evidence or something. But at this point, I don't have good, reliable evidence for that claim. Oops. Okay, let's go back and talk about some other things. We have about 20 minutes until the State of the Union. I'm looking at some of the other things I wanted to talk about. This was interesting, this video. This another one of these abandoned vehicle videos. Really weird. This is from OSIN Technical. They say Russian truck and howitzer abandoned on the side of the road in Mykolaiv. Truck is probably carrying ammunition as well. You actually see the ammunition, it looks like. Am I right about this? Oh, hold on. It says, or maybe that's a different video. Oh no. Sorry, that's not the one I wanted to show you. But it is weird to see abandoned stuff. It's just sitting there. I showed you that. Oh, here's another complaint right here. Look. Coming from Russia. Mark Bennett says this is one of the richest neighborhoods in Russia. Leonid Rogozin. The Kamovniki municipality in central Moscow. Isn't that a different one, or is that the same one? I think this is a different one than the other one today. Yeah, we showed you this. We showed you a little while ago that the Council of Deputies in Gagarinsky Municipal District issue statement condemning the war in Ukraine and calling for immediate troop withdrawal. So this is a different one. This is the Kamenivki municipality in central Moscow, a wealthy area of central Moscow, condemns Putin's war on Ukraine. We demand hostilities be stopped and Russian troops to return back to Russian territory. This shame cannot be washed away, but it is at least possible to save lives. So there are some people who are willing to put their names to these kind of statements in Russia. That was earlier today. Okay. Somebody said check Marco Rubio. I don't think I've seen what he posted today. I don't know if this is true. He says tonight Putin has launched what appears to be the largest airborne assault of the invasion. It's likely a final push to take the control of southeast approach to Kharkiv, a city he expected to take quickly without resistance and be welcomed by grateful residents as a liberator. I don't know that this is true. It's interesting that he's saying it because he is the vice chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee. I mean, you'd think he'd have some information. I don't think he's just thinking of this himself. It's interesting that he says it. I agree with this. Marco Rubio says we need to start thinking about what we are willing to do if Putin tries to starve 3 million human beings by imposing a medieval siege on Kiev. And I don't assume or pretend our options are easy, simple, or without risk. It's a fair point. See, I posted about this like 45 minutes ago. They posted it on their Twitter. But remember, I saw it on their Telegram. So I told you about it like 45 minutes ago. It's the same thing. Who knows? I don't know. It could be a landing force of 20 people. I just don't know. This thing got Kharkiv. Don't know much about it. Hey, a quick thank you to Andy Wang. I'm assuming it's Wang, not Wang. Andy Wang, thank you so much, Andy. Very kind of you. I need to thank the people for the Facebook stars. I haven't done that in a little bit. Let me just do that real quick. State of the Union's coming up in 15, 16 minutes. We will be watching the State of the Union. Thank you to Jeff Curry. Oh, Jeff, that's very kind of you. Thank you for the Facebook stars, Jeff Curry. That's very kind of you, Jeff Curry. Thank you. Also, Jeremy Medford. Thanks to all of our Facebook stars givers. Jeremy Medford, Laverne Thompson, Swan Brown, Robin Shaw Rivard, Michael Hellstrom, Karen Head, Alicia Rivera. One moment, please. Sean Keating, Anna Urson, Tanya Duke, Jamie Lengerich, Lizzie D'Souza, Sarah Elias Ferry, James Belts, Paul Dorman, Rosa Siboldi, Lean Berzina, Laura Sluice, Tracy, Tom Chandris III, Chelsea Eberhardt, Shannon Leslie, Tiago Ferreira, Jason Beers. Thank you for the Facebook stars. There's an article I wanted to show you, but I'm going to wait till after the State of the Union because I don't want to rush showing you. I don't think this is going to happen. It's an interesting idea. I don't think this is going to happen. I just saw a post by a White House reporter, Mark Knoller. He says, it would be a tribute to Ukraine resistance if Biden tonight were to repeat the words of those border guards on Snake Island who responded to threat by saying, Russian warship, go blank yourself. I don't think he's going to say that, but it's an interesting idea. Shelby Hammett Ferguson says, have you seen the posts about Ukrainian civilians holding back Russian convoy? I saw it earlier all over Twitter. Once in a while, I see these posts that show a video and it says Russia had a convoy and these citizens went to the street and then the convoy didn't move and they turned back. I just don't know the details. You know, I don't know how, and maybe the convoy's big mission wasn't today. You know, there's just no way to tell, like, was it a really important mission that was stopped by these citizens in the street, or was it like the convoy was just like, today we were just going to go down this road for a few seconds? So I just don't know what to make of those reports. You know, did they go through the town tonight? Did they go around the town? You know, I don't really know what to make of them. So they're interesting, but I can't really put them into context without a lot more information. Thank you for watching there on Facebook. Oh, I owe a quick thank you to June Owens. Thanks for the Facebook stars, June Owens, and also Eric Smoke. Thank you. And Chelsea Eberhardt. Thank you so much. And Ashley Victoria Johnson. Very kind of you. The State of the Union is in 12 minutes. I'm going to show that on the air. While that's going on, I'm going to eat something because I haven't eaten lunch. Basically. I had a Cliff Bar. Look at this. More damage. Major damage to at least 2 large apartment buildings in the town of Borodyanka, 35 miles northwest of Kyiv. Videos show that parts of both 5-floor buildings had collapsed, searching for survivors. That's from Malachi Brown. Videos verified by the Times show devastated apartment buildings in a town just northwest of Kyiv. Look at this. Videos verified by the Times on Tuesday show major damage to at least 2 large apartment buildings, 35 miles northwest of Kyiv. They show parts of both 5-floor buildings had collapsed. The buildings surround a large courtyard containing a kindergarten, whose playground was also damaged. Ukrainian media outlets did not immediately report fatalities or numbers of injured, but witnesses said in the videos they were searching survivors after hearing voices under the rubble. Witnesses and Ukraine's deputy foreign minister said the damage was a result of Russian airstrikes.
The joint session will come to order.
"10 minutes until the..."
Okay, then we do these, okay?
State of the Union.
The joint session will
I had some
come
other stuff
order.
to show you too.
The chair appoints
more to get to
as
after.
members of the committee on the part of the House to escort the President of the United States into the chambers. The gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Hoyer. The gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Clyburn. The gentleman from Massachusetts, the gentlewoman from Massachusetts, Ms.
Okay,
Clark.
let me just do a quick check
The gentleman
here.
from New York, Mr.
As
Jeffries.
we wait for that to start.
The gentleman from New York, Mr. Sean Patrick Maloney. The woman from Ohio, Ms. Capter. The gentlewoman from Delaware, Ms.
There was this article today talked about concerns
The
of
gentleman from
about
California,
people
Mr.
in Ukraine
Carson
starting to run
Stefanik.
out of stuff.
The gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Mike Johnson.
You know,
The gentleman from Alabama,
I'm sure
Mr.
the trucks
Palmer.
aren't operating like they normally would.
The gentleman from Oklahoma,
Oh, I
Mr.
think I said the
Cole.
whole coast.
The
I messed
gentlewoman
up
from
before. I said
Indiana,
Ukraine
Ms.
doesn't have
Fox.
access to the coast. They do have access to the coast. Odessa's a port city. So Russia has not taken the. I'm so stupid. Earlier I had said that Russia had taken the whole coast. There's much of the coast Russia controls right now, but not all of it. Not all of it. In the southwest they don't. So I'm sorry about that. I don't know what I was thinking. Ukraine conflict could spark surges of COVID, polio, other diseases, say experts. Hospitals are running out of supplies. Health workers and patients are hiding in makeshift shelters, and some fear the flight of millions of people could worsen the pandemic. It's not good.
Ms. Snapanow, the senator from Minnesota,
An underground shelter for sick
the
children.
senator from Wisconsin, Ms. Baldwin, the senator from Kentucky, Mr. McConnell.
Global health officials fear that Russia's invasion of Ukraine will be the latest reminder of a grim lesson that war and disease are
The
close
senator
companions.
from Wyoming, Mr. Barrasso.
Ukrainian
senator
hospitals
from
are running out of
Iowa,
critical
Ms.
medical
Ernst.
supplies, says the Washington Post, as
The
travel is
senator from
increasingly
Missouri,
choked off by
Mr.
the
Blunt.
conflict.
And the senator from
The
Iowa,
country's health
Mr.
workers and
Grassley.
patients are relocating to makeshift shelters,
The members
seeking
of
to
the
escape
escort committee
explosions.
will exit the chamber through the lobby doors.
Okay, you can read more about this in the Washington Post, but concerning. And the food shortages, hearing about food,
Now we wait.
a lack of food, easy to get food in Kyiv, for example. So let me do this. This. And this.
Madam Speaker, the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps.
President Biden is not live yet. You can see here. See, look. He's going to be live here. It's the State of the Union. So to repeat, I'm going to show this. He's going to be talking about the war, and also I am going to be eating. I'm going to get something. As soon as he comes on, I'm getting something to eat. But he is not there yet. The stream, I think they might start. I don't know if they'll start the stream when he comes into the White House. Not when he comes into the White House, when he comes into the chamber, or when the speech actually starts. I think they might start it when he walks in. He's about to walk in. So when he walks into the House chamber. Oh, by the way, a quick thank you. That's very kind of you. Sticks and Stones from Australia. That's very generous of you. Thank you, Sticks and Stones. Thank you also, Gringo from Mexico. I appreciate that, Gringo. And Arizona Jumper, thank you. Also, Bam C. Sweet. Yeah, if people, what usually happens, Bamsey, if people hear stuff on the live stream, they can they say it in the chat. Then I know I have to listen to it. So usually, if people hear like sirens on the live stream, people can just post in the chat, and I'll see that. Thank you, Bamsey from Sweden. Also, Cesar Quintana. Cesar, we talked about Mariupol earlier, a bunch. Maybe we'll check on it after this. I'll try to check on it after the State of the Union. Looks like they're being threatened on either side by approaching soldiers. Darth Tater thanks as well. William Murphy. Yes, William, we looked at Institute for the Study of War earlier. Thank you. Rokas Valentina Vicious. Thanks. I saw that article, Rokas. It just, I don't know. I can't verify those claims. I don't really know if there's any, I don't know of any evidence for the claims about the big convoy that Ukraine says they attacked. All right, he's about to come in the chamber, so maybe this will start in a second. Oh, I
Chief
think the Supreme
Justice
Court is coming
and
in.
Associate
So
Justices
this is the
of
this is the White
Supreme
House
Court.
feed. See this is the White House feed that I have on right now. So it'll start. It's going to show the whole thing. Please keep things respectful in the chat. No one wants to read a line of toxic political hatred, so just keep it civil and respectful, please.
Next up is the first one.
Okay. They haven't started yet. I think they're going to start in 3 minutes. Well, they'll start when he walks in, probably. He's supposed to come in 3 minutes, or speech in 3 minutes. The First Lady just walked in. I can tell you that. I think, if I'm right, she might have just said hi to the Ukrainian ambassador, but I'm not sure. Okay, so again, we're going to show you this live while I get something to eat. But this will, at some point, the feed you're watching will turn to the live shot.
Madam Speaker, the President's Cabinet.
The cabinet is coming in, I guess. Let's see. Yes. Hold on a second here. Hold on, I have to hide somebody. Bye. That gets a hide. I don't want to go away from it because it's about to start. So I don't want to, I don't want to miss the start of it. If there's some huge developments during the speech, I can cut in too. I'll actually quickly check and make sure there's nothing crazy going on right now while we wait for it to start. By the way, it is 4 a.m. Ukraine time. It's 4 a.m. Ukraine time right now. No, the speech has not started yet. It has not started. Thank you again to all of our mods. Really appreciate all the mods. They are awesome. I think the president is close to coming in. Thanks, Ernie, for your support as well. Much appreciated, Ernie. And also Lee Field, who's in the UK. Thank you, Lee Field. It is now 9:01. Biden about to be introduced right now. I think we'll see him come in through the door on this live shot. I think they'll do that and not wait till he's speaking. I believe that's what they did last year. Or was there one last year? No, that was the year of the election. I don't even remember. Was there not one last year because Biden had just taken office maybe 2 years ago? I don't remember. I'm sorry. Hang on a second here. So I didn't realize it was going to take so long. I would have waited to go to this. I thought it was going to be a little sooner. So sorry to make you wait. Thank you also, Silver's Ring. Thank you, Silver's Ring. Mary Thompson says, anyone think Putin is listening? It's 5 a.m. Moscow time. I mean, if he's up, he might be watching. I don't know if he's up right now. Again, tomorrow I'm going to try to get on the air earlier. We got on a little late today. So I'm going to hopefully get on the air a little earlier tomorrow. That's my goal at least. Bonnie Bailey says, I bet Putin is watching. Brad says Putin is watching. Sam says Putin is not watching. If he's awake. I don't know when he sleeps. Oh, there it is. Okay, I'm going to go, guys, I'm going to turn this on now. I'm going to turn it on now, and then I'm going to eat something, okay? Their audio isn't on yet. No audio yet. No audio yet. They have not turned the audio on. We'll get audio in a second. I have to put this, I have to say live. Do this. I got to get something to eat when this turns on. No audio yet. Now I want to just wait until we have audio. Until we have audio. It's about to be introduced. But again, it's not that there's it's not on my end. There's literally no audio yet on the source. They have not turned. There we go. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm going to get something to eat. I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Once they turn the audio on, I'm going to disappear and grab something to eat.
President of the United States.
Hang on, I'm going to wait just to make sure that everything's working. Guys, really quick, the volume is as loud as I can make it. I assume the volume will be fine when he speaks because he'll be at a microphone. So, but again, I have the volume turned up as loud as I can make it. And again, I assume that it'll be fine when he starts speaking. I'm still here. I'm still here because I'm not hearing volume. They turned down the volume. I just want to make sure everything's working. I got to make sure everything's working, guys. Here we go. Time for them to kick in the volume. Let's get that volume up, White House.
Members of
So I have it literally all the way up.
high privilege and distinct honor of presenting
I think
to
they
you
haven't turned the mic
the
on yet.
President
There we
of
go.
the
Okay.
United States. Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the President of the United States.
Thank you.
And they did the thing where they turned the volume down again.
Thank you all.
I think they maybe don't want to get anything besides him speaking.
Thank you.
There.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you. Please. Thank you so much. Madam Speaker, Madam Vice President, our First Lady and Second Gentleman, members of Congress and the Cabinet, Justice of the Supreme Court, my fellow Americans. Last year, COVID-19 kept us apart. This year, we're finally together again. Tonight, we meet as Democrats, Republicans, and Independents, but most importantly, as Americans, with the duty to one another, to America, to the American people, to the Constitution, and an unwavering resolve that freedom will always triumph over tyranny. Thank you. 6 days ago, Russia's Vladimir Putin sought to shake the very foundations of the free world, thinking he could make it bend to his menacing ways. But he badly miscalculated. He thought he could roll into Ukraine and the world would roll over. Instead, he met with a wall of strength he never anticipated or imagined. He met the Ukrainian people. From President Zelensky to every Ukrainian, their fearlessness, their courage, their determination literally inspires the world. Groups of citizens blocking tanks with their bodies, everyone from students to retirees to teachers, turned soldiers defending their homeland. And in this struggle, President Zelensky said in his speech to the European Parliament, "Light will win over darkness." The Ukrainian ambassador to the United States is here tonight sitting with the First Lady. Let each of us, if you're able to stand and send an unmistakable signal to the world of Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. She's bright, she's strong, she's resolved. Yes, we, the United States of America, stand with the Ukrainian people. Throughout our history, we've learned this lesson. When dictators do not pay a price for their aggression, they cause more chaos. They keep moving, and the cost, the threats to America and America to the world keeps rising. That's why the NATO alliance was created, to secure peace and stability in Europe after World War II. The United States is a member, along with 29 other nations. It matters. American diplomacy matters. American resolve matters. Putin's latest attack on Ukraine was premeditated and totally unprovoked. He rejected repeated efforts at diplomacy. He thought the West and NATO wouldn't respond. He thought he could divide us at home, in this chamber, in this nation. He thought he could divide us in Europe as well. But Putin was wrong. We are ready. We are united, and that's what we did. We stayed united. We prepared extensively and carefully. We spent months building coalitions of other freedom-loving nations in Europe and the Americas, from America to the Asian and African continents, to confront Putin. Like many of you, I spent countless hours unifying our European allies. We shared with the world in advance what we knew Putin was planning and precisely how we would try to falsify and justify his aggression. We countered Russia's lies with the truth. And now that he's acted, the free world is holding him accountable, along with 27 members of the European Union, including France, Germany, Italy, as well as countries like the United Kingdom, Canada, Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and many others, even Switzerland, are inflicting pain on Russia and supporting the people of Ukraine. Putin is now isolated from the world more than he has ever been. Together, along with our allies, we are right now enforcing powerful economic sanctions. We're cutting off Russia's largest banks from the international financial system, preventing Russia's central bank from defending the Russian ruble, making Putin's $630 billion war fund worthless. We're choking Russia's access. To technology that will sap its economic strength and weaken its military for years to come. Tonight, I say to the Russian oligarchs and the corrupt leaders who built billions of dollars off this violent regime, no more. The United States, I mean it. The United States Department of Justice is assembling a dedicated task force to go after the crimes of the Russian oligarchs. We're joining with European allies to find and seize their yachts, their luxury apartments, their private jets. We're coming for your ill-begotten gains. And tonight, I'm announcing that we will join our allies in closing off American airspace to all Russian flights, further isolating Russia and adding additional squeeze on their economy. He has no idea what's coming. The ruble has already lost 30% of its value. The Russian stock market has lost 40% of its value, and trading remains suspended. The Russian economy is reeling, and Putin alone is the one to blame. Together with our allies, we're providing support to the Ukrainians in their fight for freedom. Military assistance, economic assistance, humanitarian assistance. We're giving more than $1 billion of direct assistance to Ukraine, and will continue to aid the Ukrainian people as they defend their country and help ease their suffering. But let me be clear, our forces are not engaged and will not engage in the conflict with Russian forces in Ukraine. Our forces are not going to Europe to fight Ukraine, but to defend our NATO allies in the event that Putin decides to keep moving west. For that purpose, we have mobilized American ground forces, air squadrons, ship deployments to protect NATO countries including Poland, Romania, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. And as I've made crystal clear, the United States and our allies will defend every inch of territory that is NATO territory with the full force of our collective power. Every single inch. And we're clear-eyed. The Ukrainians are fighting back with pure courage. But the next few days, weeks, and months will be hard on them. Putin has unleashed violence and chaos. But while he may make gains on the battlefield, he'll pay a continuing high price over the long run. And a pound of Ukrainian people, the proud, proud people, pound for pound, ready to fight with every inch of energy they have. They've known 30 years of independence, have repeatedly shown that they will not tolerate anyone who tries to take their country backwards. To all Americans, I'll be honest with you, as I always promised I would be. A Russian dictator invading a foreign country has cost around the world. And I'm taking robust action to make sure the pain of our sanctions is targeted at the Russian economy, and that we use every tool at our disposal to protect American businesses and consumers. Tonight, I can announce the United States has worked with 30 other countries to release 60 million barrels of oil from reserves around the world. America will lead that effort, releasing 30 million barrels of our own strategic petroleum reserve. And we stand ready to do more if necessary, united with our allies. These steps will help blunt gas prices here at home, but I know news about what's happening can seem alarming to all Americans. But I want you to know we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. When the history of this era is written, Putin's war in Ukraine will have left Russia weaker and the rest of the world stronger. While it shouldn't have taken something so terrible for people around the world to see what's at stake, now everyone sees it clearly. We see the unity among leaders of nations, a more unified Europe, a more unified West. We see unity among the people who are gathering in cities and large crowds around the world, even in Russia, to demonstrate their support for the people of Ukraine. In the battle between democracy and autocracies, democracies are rising to the moment, and the world is clearly choosing the side of peace and security. This is the real test, and it's going to take time. So let us continue to draw inspiration from the iron will of the Ukrainian people. To our fellow Ukrainian Americans who forged the deep bond that connects our two nations, we stand with you. We stand with you. Putin may circle Kyiv with tanks, but he'll never gain the hearts and souls of the Iranian people. He'll never extinguish their love of freedom, and he will never weaken the resolve of the free world. We meet tonight in an America that has lived through two of the hardest years this nation has ever faced. The pandemic has been punishing, and so many families are living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to keep up with the rising cost of food, gas, housing, and so much more. I understand, like many of you did. My dad had to leave his home in Scranton, Pennsylvania to find work. So like many of you, I grew up in a family when the price of food went up, it was felt throughout the family. It had an impact. That's when one of the first things I did as president was fight to pass the American Rescue Plan. Because people were hurting, we needed to act, and we did. Few pieces of legislation have done more at a critical moment in our history to lift us out of a crisis. It fueled our efforts to vaccinate the nation and combat COVID-19, delivered immediate economic relief to tens of millions of Americans. It helped put food on the table. Remember those long lines of cars waiting for hours just to get a box of food put in their trunk. It cut the cost of health care insurance. And as my dad used to say, it gave the people just a little bit of breathing room. Unlike the $2 trillion tax cut passed in the previous administration that benefited the top 1% of Americans, the American Rescue Plan helped working people and left no one behind. Folks, and it worked. It worked. It worked. We created jobs, lots of jobs. In fact, our economy created over 6.5 million new jobs just last year. More jobs in 1 year than ever before in the history of the United States of America. The economy grew at a rate of 5.7 last year, the strongest growth rate in 40 years. And the first step in bringing fundamental change to our economy that hasn't worked for working people in this nation for too long. For the past 40 years, we were told that tax break for those at the top and benefits would trickle down and everyone would benefit. But that trickle-down theory led to a weaker economic growth, lower wages, bigger deficits, and a widening gap between the top and everyone else in nearly a century. Look, Vice President Harris and I ran for office, and I realize we had fundamental disagreements on this, but ran for office with a new economic vision for America. Invest in America, educate Americans, grow the workforce, build the economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down, because we know when the middle class grows, the poor have a way up and the wealthy do very well. America used to have the best roads, bridges, and airports on earth. And now our infrastructure is ranked 13th in the world. We won't be able to compete for the jobs of the 21st century if we don't fix it. That's why it was so important to pass the bipartisan infrastructure law. And I thank my Republican friends who joined to invest and rebuild America, the single biggest investment in history. It was a bipartisan effort, and I want to thank the members of both parties who worked to make it happen. We're done talking about infrastructure weeks. We're now talking about an infrastructure decade. And look, it's going to transform America, to put us on a path to win the economic competition of the 21st century that we face with the rest of the world, particularly China. I've told Xi Jinping it's never been a good bet to bet against the American people. We'll create good jobs for millions of Americans, modernizing roads, airports, ports, waterways, all across America. And we'll do it to withstand the devastating effects of climate change and promote environmental justice. We'll build a national network of 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations. Begin to replace the poisonous lead pipes so every child, every American has clean water to drink at home and at school. We're going to provide affordable, high-speed internet for every American, rural, suburban, urban, and tribal communities. 4,000 projects have already been announced Many of you have announced them in your districts. And tonight, I'm announcing that this year, we will start fixing over 65,000 miles of highway and 1,500 bridges in disrepair. And folks, when we use taxpayers' dollars to rebuild America, we're going to do it by buying America. Buy American products. Support American jobs. The federal government spends about $600 billion a year to keep this country safe and secure. There's been a law on the books for almost a century to make sure taxpayers' dollars support American jobs and businesses. Every administration, Democrat and Republican, says they'll do it, but we're actually doing it. We'll buy America to make sure everything from the deck of an aircraft carrier to the steel on highway guardrails is made in America from beginning to end. All of it. All of it. But folks, to compete for the jobs of the future, we also need a level playing field with China and other competitors. That's why it's so important to pass the Bipartisan Innovation Act sitting in Congress that will make record investments in emerging technologies and American manufacturing. We used to invest almost 2% of our GDP in research and development. We don't now. China is. Let me give you one example why it's so important to pass. If you travel 20 miles east of Columbus, Ohio, you'll find 1,000 empty acres of land. It won't look like much, but if you stop and look closely, you'll see a field of dreams, the ground on which America's future will be built. That's where Intel, the American company that helped build Silicon Valley, is going to build a $20 billion semiconductor megasite, up to 8 state-of-the-art factories in one place, 10,000 new jobs. And in those factories, the average job about $135,000 a year. Some of the most sophisticated manufacturing in the world to make computer chips the size of a fingertip that power the world in everyday lives, from smartphones, technology, the internet, technology is yet to be invented. But that's just the beginning. Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger, who was here tonight, I don't know where Pat is. Pat, there you go, Pat, stand up. Pat came to see me and he told me they're ready to increase their investment from $20 billion to $100 billion. That would be the biggest investment in manufacturing in American history. And all they're waiting for is for you to pass this bill. So let's not wait any longer. Send it to my desk, I'll sign it, and we'll really take off in a big way. And folks, Intel is not alone. There's something happening in America. Just look around and you'll see an amazing story. The rebirth of pride that comes from stamping products made in America. The revitalization of American manufacturing. Companies are choosing to build new factories here when just a few years ago they would have gone overseas. That's what's happening. Ford is investing $11 billion in electric vehicles, creating 11,000 jobs across the country. GM is making the largest investment in its history, $7 billion to build electric vehicles, creating 4,000 jobs in Michigan. All told, 369,000 new manufacturing jobs were created in America last year alone. Folks, powered by people I've met like JoJo Burgess from generations of union steelworkers in Pittsburgh, who's here with us tonight. Where are you, JoJo? There you go. Thanks, buddy. As Ohio As Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown says, it's time to bury the label Rust Belt. It's time to see the what used to be called the Rust Belt become the home of a significant resurgence of manufacturing. And with all the bright spots in our economy, record job growth, higher wages, too many families are struggling to keep up with their bills. Inflation is robbing them of gains they thought otherwise they would be able to feel. I get it. That's why my top priority is getting prices under control. Look, our economy roared back faster than almost anyone predicted, but the pandemic meant that businesses had a hard time hiring enough people because of the pandemic to keep up production in their factories. So you didn't have people making those beams that went into buildings because they were out. The factory was closed. The panic also disrupted the global supply chain. Factories close. When that happens, it takes longer to make goods and get them to the warehouses, to the stores, and prices go up. Look at cars last year. 1/3 of all the inflation was because of automobile sales. There weren't enough semiconductors to make all the cars that people wanted to buy. And guess what? Prices of automobiles went way up, especially used vehicles as well. And so we have a choice. One way to fight inflation is to drive down wages and make Americans poorer. I think I have a better idea to fight inflation. Lower your costs, not your wages. Folks, that means make more cars and semiconductors in America, more infrastructure and innovation in America, more goods moving faster and cheaper in America, more jobs where you can earn a good living in America. Instead of relying on foreign supply chains, let's make it in America. Look, economists call this increasing the productive capacity of our economy. I call it building a better America. My plan to fight inflation will lower your cost and lower the deficit. 17 Nobel laureates in economics said my plan will ease long-term inflationary pressures. Top business leaders, and I believe most Americans support the plan. And here's the plan. First, cut the cost of prescription drugs. We pay more for the same drug produced by the same company in America than any other country in the world. Just look at insulin. 1 in 10 Americans has diabetes. In Virginia, I met a 13-year-old boy, the handsome young man standing up there, Joshua Davis. He and his dad both have type 1 diabetes, which means they need insulin every single day. Insulin costs about $10 a vial to make. That's what it costs the pharmaceutical company. But drug companies charge families like Joshua and his dad up to 30 times that amount. I spoke with Joshua's mom. Imagine one who needs insulin to stay healthy and have no idea how in God's name you're going to be able to pay for it. What it does to your family, but what it does to your dignity, your ability to look your child in the eye, to be the parent you expect yourself to be. I really mean to think about that. That's what I think about. You know, yesterday, Joshua's here tonight, but yesterday was his birthday. Happy birthday, buddy, by the way. For Joshua and 200,000 other young people with type 1 diabetes, let's cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month. so everyone can afford it. And drug companies will do very, very well, their profit margin. While we're at it, I know we have great disagreements on this floor with this. Let's let Medicare negotiate the price of prescription drugs. They already set the price for VA drugs. Look, the American Rescue Plan is helping millions of families with Affordable Care Act plans to save them $2,400 a year on their health premiums. Let's close the coverage gap and make these savings permanent. And second, let's cut energy costs for families, an average of $500 a year by combating climate change. Let's provide an investment tax credits to weatherize your home and your business, to be energy efficient and get a tax credit for it. Double America's clean energy production in solar, wind, and so much more. Lower the price of electric vehicles, saving another $80 a month that you're not going to have to pay at the pump. Folks, the third thing we can do to change the standard of living for hardworking folks is cut the cost of child care. Cut the cost of child care. Folks, if you live in a major city in America, you pay up to $14,000 a year for child care per child. I was a single dad for 5 years, raising 2 kids. I had a lot of help, though. I had a mom, a dad, a brother, and a sister that really helped. But middle class and working folks shouldn't have to pay more than 7% of their income to care for the young children. My plan would cut the cost of child care in half for most families and help parents, including millions of women who left the workforce during the pandemic because they couldn't afford child care, to be able to get back to work, generating economic growth. But my plan doesn't stop there. It also includes home and long-term care, more affordable housing, pre-K for 3- and 4-year-olds. All these will lower costs to families. And under my plan, nobody, let me say this again, nobody earning less than $400,000 a year will pay an additional penny in new taxes. Not a single penny. I may be wrong, but my guess is if we took a secret ballot in this floor, that we'd all agree that the present tax system ain't fair. We have to fix it. I'm not looking to punish anybody, but let's make corporations and wealthy Americans start paying their fair share. Look, last year, like Chris Coons and Tom Carper and my distinguished Congresswoman, we come from the land of corporate America. There are more corporations incorporated in America than every other state in America combined. And I still won 36 years in a row. The point is, even they understand they should pay just a fair share. Last year, 55 of the Fortune 500 companies earned $40 billion in profit and paid 0 in federal taxes. Now look, it's not fair. That's why I proposed a 15% minimum tax rate for corporations. And that's why in the G7 and other meetings overseas, we're able to put together, I was able to be somewhat helpful, 130 countries agree on a global minimum tax rate. So companies can't get out of paying their taxes at home by shipping jobs and factories overseas. It'll raise billions of dollars. That's why I propose closing loopholes for the very wealthy who pay a lower tax rate than a teacher and a firefighter. So that's my plan, but we'll go in more detail later. We will grow the economy, lower the cost of families. So what are we waiting for? Let's get this done. We all know we've got to make changes. Folks, and while you're at it, confirm my nominees for the Federal Reserve, which plays a critical role in fighting inflation. My plan will not only lower costs and give families a fair shot, it will lower the deficit. The previous administration not only ballooned the deficit with those tax cuts for the very wealthy and corporations, it undermined the watchdogs, the job of those to keep pandemic relief funds being wasted. Remember we had those debates about whether or not those watchdogs should be able to see every day how much money was being spent, where was it going to the right place? But in my administration, the watchdogs are back. And we're going to go after the criminals who stole billions of relief money meant for small business and millions of Americans. Tonight, I'm announcing that the Justice Department will soon name a chief prosecutor for pandemic fraud. And look, I think we all agree, thank you. By the end of this year, the deficit will be down to less than half of what it was before I took office. The only president ever to cut the deficit by more than $1 trillion in a single year. Lowering your cost also meant demanding more competition. I'm a capitalist, but capitalism without competition is not capitalism. Capitalism without competition is exploitation. It drives up profits. And corporations have to compete. Their profits go up and your prices go up when they don't have to compete. Small businesses and family farmers and ranchers, I need not tell some of my Republican friends from those states. Guess what? You got 4 basic meat packing facilities. That's it. You play with them or you don't get to play at all. And you pay a hell of a lot more. A hell of a lot more because there's only 4. See what's happening with ocean carriers moving goods in and out of America. During the pandemic, about half a dozen or less foreign-owned companies raised prices by as much as 1,000% and made record profits. Tonight, I'm announcing a crackdown on those companies overcharging American businesses and consumers. And folks, and as Wall Street firms take over more nursing homes, quality in those homes has gone down and costs have gone up. That ends on my watch. Medicare is going to set higher standards for nursing homes and make sure loved ones get the care they deserve and that they inspect and they will look at closely. We're also going to cut costs to keep the economy going strong and giving workers a fair shot, provide more training and apprenticeships, hire them based on skills, not just their degrees. Let's pass the Paycheck Fairness Act and paid leave. Raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour and extend the child tax credit so no one has to raise a family in poverty. Let's increase Pell Grants, increase our historic support for HBCUs, and invest in what Jill, our First Lady who teaches full-time, calls America's best-kept secret, community colleges. Look, let's pass the PRO Act. When a majority of workers want to form a union, they shouldn't be able to be stopped. When we invest in our workers and we build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out together, we can do something we haven't done in a long time. Build a better America. For more than 2 years, COVID has impacted every decision in our lives and the life of this nation. And I know you're tired, frustrated, and exhausted. That doesn't even count the close to 1 million people who sit at a dining room table or a kitchen table and look at an empty chair because they lost somebody. But I also know this, because of the progress we've made, because of your resilience and the tools that we have been provided by this Congress, tonight I can say we're moving forward safely back to more normal routines. We've reached a new moment in the fight against COVID-19, where severe cases are down to a level not seen since July of last year. Just a few days ago, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention issued a new mask guidelines. Under the new guidelines, most Americans and most of the country can now go mask-free. And based on projections, more of the country will reach a point across the next couple of weeks. And thanks to the progress we've made in the past year, COVID-19 no longer need control our lives. I know some are talking about living with COVID-19, but tonight I say that we never will just accept living with COVID-19. We'll continue to combat the virus as we do other diseases. And because this virus mutates and spreads, we have to stay on guard. And here are 4 common sense steps as we move forward safely, in my view. First, stay protected with vaccines and treatments. We know how incredibly effective vaccines are. If you're vaccinated and boosted, you have the highest degree of protection. We'll never give up on vaccinating more Americans. Now, I know parents with kids under 5 are eager to see their vaccines authorized for their children. Scientists are working hard to get that done. We'll be ready with plenty of vaccines if and when they do. We're all ready. We are also ready with antiviral treatments. If you get COVID-19, the Pfizer pill reduces your chances of ending up in the hospital by 90%. I've ordered more pills than anyone in the world has. Pfizer is working overtime to get us 1 million pills this month and more than double that next month. And now we're launching the Test to Treat initiative. So people can get tested at a pharmacy, and if they prove positive, receive the antiviral pills on the spot at no cost. And folks, if you're immunocompromised or have some other vulnerability, we have treatments and free high-quality masks. We're leaving no one behind or ignoring anyone's needs as we move forward. On testing, we've made hundreds of millions of tests available, and you can order them for free to your doorstep. And we've already ordered free tests. If you already ordered free tests tonight, I'm announcing you can order another group of tests. Go to covidtest.gov starting next week, and you can get more tests. Second, we must prepare for new variants. Over the past, we've gotten much better at detecting new variants. If necessary, we'll be able to develop new vaccines within 100 days instead of maybe months or years. And if Congress provides the funds we need, we'll have new stockpiles of tests, masks, pills ready if needed. I can't promise a new variant won't come, but I can promise you we'll do everything within our power to be ready if it does. Third, we can end the shutdown of schools and businesses. We have the tools we need. It's time for America to get back to work and fill our great downtowns again with people. People working from home can feel safe and begin to return to their offices. We're doing that here in the federal government. The vast majority of federal workers will once again work in person. Our schools are open. Let's keep it that way. Our kids need to be in school. With 75% of adult Americans fully vaccinated and hospitalizations down by 77%, most Americans can remove their masks and stay in the classroom and move forward safely. We achieved this because we provided free vaccines, treatments, tests, and masks. Of course, continuing this costs money, so I'll not surprise you. I'll be back to see you all. And I'm going to soon send a request to Congress. The vast majority of Americans have used these tools and may want again. We may need them again, so I expect Congress, and I hope you'll pass that quickly. Fourth, we'll continue vaccinating the world. We've sent 475 million vaccine doses to 112 countries, more than any nation on earth. We won't stop because you can't build a wall high enough to keep out a vaccine. The vaccine can stop the spread of these diseases. You know, we've lost so much in COVID-19. Time with one another. The worst of all, the loss of life. Let's use this moment to reset. So stop looking at COVID as a partisan dividing line. See it for what it is, a god-awful disease. Let's stop seeing each other as enemies and start seeing each other for who we are, fellow Americans. Look. We can't change how divided we've been. It was a long time in coming. But we can change how to move forward on COVID-19 and other issues that we must face together. I recently visited New York City Police Department days after the funerals of Officer Wilbur Mora and his partner, Officer Jason Rivera. They were responding to a 9/11 call when a man shot and killed them with a stolen gun. Officer Moore was 27 years old. Officer Rivera was 22 years old. Both Dominican Americans who grew up in the same streets that they later chose to patrol as police officers. I spoke with their families, and I told them that we were forever in debt for their sacrifices and will carry on their mission to restore the trust and safety of every community deserves. Like some of you that have been around for a while, I've worked with you on these issues for a long time. I know what works. Investigating crime prevention and community policing, cops who walk the beat, who know the neighborhood, and who can restore trust and safety. Let's not abandon our streets or choose between safety and equal justice. Let's come together and protect our communities, restore trust, and hold law enforcement accountable. That's why the Justice Department has required body cameras, banned chokeholds, and restricted no-knock warrants for its officers. That's why the American Rescue Plan that you all provided $350 billion that cities, states, and counties can use to hire more police, invest in more proven strategies.
Hey guys, what I am going to do is, since I believe President Biden is done talking about Ukraine, I think we're going to go back and do a little more Ukraine coverage. We're going to leave this right now. You can find it at the White House live on social media and also news channels and stuff. But I think at this point, the main reason we were showing you the State of the Union was to see what President Biden said about Ukraine. Again, I believe he's done talking about that. So I think we're going to do a little more of Ukraine coverage. And again, you can check out the rest of the State of the Union. The White House is showing it on their social media, and also different news stations are covering it as well. So we're going to come back to this right now, and that's what we're going to do. Because the coverage is supposed to be what we're here covering is the Ukraine story. So again, sorry to be kind of abrupt about it, but you should be able to pretty easily find it. If you're watching me somewhere, you can find it. You can find the rest of the speech somewhere. Okay. So what I want to do is, I wanted to show you something I saw earlier today. President Biden did, by the way, as expected, announce that American airspace is going to be closed to Russian airplanes. I don't have the specific details here, but he did announce that. And among some other things. But I want to do this now. I saw an interesting article and I wanted to show you this. That's what I wanted to do. I found this article in New Lines magazine, New Lines magazine. Estonia's spy master, the danger of Putin's frustration. So I actually thought this was pretty interesting. And I wanted to just talk about this for a little bit. In a wide-ranging interview, Meek Marin, Estonia's foreign intelligence director, talks about Russia's war on Ukraine, its impact on Europe, and what may become of Putin's regime. So I just wanted to show you a few parts of this. Let's see here. For example, how can you explain why they're talking to Estonia's foreign intelligence director? How can you explain why Russia hasn't made greater progress? The key reason, large-scale miscalculation. President Putin underestimated the capacity of resistance from the Ukrainian people and its armed forces. He clearly overestimated the progress capability of Russia's forces. I presume that Putin was planning a 48-hour shock and awe type war without even much shock and awe, after which the political power of Ukraine would fall. A lot of analysts think that Putin thought that the Russians were just going to be greeted by the people in Ukraine. How does the Estonian Foreign Intelligence Service assess the war right now? This came out yesterday, by the way, I think. Yeah, yesterday. How does Estonian Foreign Intelligence Service assess the war right now? It's difficult to assess. It's the fourth day of the war. Okay. Putin has not achieved his goals and is probably very frustrated about it right now. They are probably recalibrating. Fresh units will be sent to the front line. Then we will see a new effort towards Kyiv. Intensive military action will continue in Kharkiv and Kherson. There is a danger to Putin wishing to revive the attack. There's a danger that Putin wishing to revive the attack will bring even larger forces into play. That means even additional firepower and even less avoidance of targeting civilians than now. Okay, what else did I want to show you here? Let's presume that the Ukrainian defense will hold up. What happens then? Would Putin have any way out of the war if he doesn't win it? The Ukrainian defense will keep up. Russia will not win this war, he thinks. Even if Putin manages to set up a puppet government, the partisan war will remain. As the former chief of Estonian Defense Forces has said, Ukrainians are the world champions in it. Okay. A way out without, in essence, not winning the war would be, in simplest terms, through negotiations in which the far eastern part of the country will be cut off from Ukraine. Definitely, they want to pressure Ukraine to declare their neutrality. Okay. He talks about Putin a bit, I think. We presume that a nuclear strike against Ukraine would be one of the last options for Putin. Oh, sorry. No. Putin has referred in several speeches and statements to the possibility of using nuclear weapons in case the West will help Ukraine. How realistic is the threat of nuclear attack? He says, we presume the nuclear strike against Ukraine would be one of the last options for Putin. He also says Ukraine is an obsession for Putin that he will not give up. How significant do you see the possibility that the anti-war pressure inside Russia will grow so large that the Kremlin would need to flex? In my opinion, it is domestically the most difficult period for Putin in the last 20 years. The number of different petitions and protests is impressive. Oligarchs, the church, Duma deputies, medical workers, athletes are talking against the war. Some Western experts are saying that this war means the end of Putin's regime in Russia. Isn't that naive? Putin is clearly afraid of the end of his regime. He has been afraid of it for years. He has taken maximum preparations for it by suffocating free media and the opposition. The end of the regime is a decision that will probably be made by the Russian people. How do you assess claims that some Russian military units have started protesting and declined to go fight in Ukraine? Is there any substance to this? We are monitoring these claims. At the moment, I can only say that fighting in Ukraine is anything but popular among Russian forces. So again, if you want to read the whole thing, it's an interesting article. Estonia's Spy Master, The Danger of Putin's Frustration, from New Lines magazine. So I wanted to mention that. Did Rob Lee post new drone footage, one of our viewers mentioned? A quick thank you to Rick M. and Drew Saunders for your support. Rick M., Drew Saunders, Johnny Mack, Imperialist, Maria J. Francis, Official Nolan LaValle, Way Too Much Info, Crystal Vines. Thank you very much. Oh, I didn't see this. Rob Lee posted this. Drone footage for the Antonovsky Bridge, for the battle for the Antonovsky Bridge near Kherson. The footage shows 2 Ukrainian vehicles, Ukrainian soldiers, and Russian trucks and howitzers. What are we looking at here? I'll have to watch this later, like in more depth. It's interesting. I wonder if this is just a civilian drone. Is it just a civilian drone? Somebody flew up there? Interesting. I'll have to watch that later. Michael says that was yesterday. Rachel sent this to me. Yeah, I know. I've been talking about this, Rachel Dixon. Thank you.
All right, you guys, I've really had enough of tonight, so I think I'm done for the evening. Hopefully be back on tomorrow. I appreciate each and every one of you guys watching me. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
You're the one enforcing the law. You can tell the people what to do. And I'm not aware that that's happened anywhere. I've seen places where Russia was supposedly in control, and it just kind of looked like they had a bunch of military around, and maybe they were in control of the streets and that the military was riding around the streets and people were scared to go out. But that's not really being in control. So I don't like how these terms are being thrown around, like Russia's in control of this, or Russia has taken this city. That can mean a lot of